Yes, welcome back here to the Xfinity Sports Report, your Colorado High School connection, and our annual high school football preview show. Happy to be joined in studio by Marty Cesario. How are you, sir?
I'm good. You know, summer goes fast, right? But it's a good thing because football's coming.
That's right. When we see Marty in the studio, it means it's time to get going, and we'll break down 4A and 5A football for you here. And let's start in 4A. Pine Creek defending champs. Is there any reason to believe that they won't make another run?
The answer is no. Pine Creek, 3 out of the last 4 years with state championships. You look at who they have coming back, a lot of linemen, including the big guy, Christian Lewis. They've got that left side of the offensive line that's returning in front of 2 backs, including, you know, the star of the championship game from 2016, David Moore, the third, the sophomore. Pine Creek strong.
Yeah, you look at what David Moore the third was able to do as a freshman, and not just as a freshman, but at a school and a program like Pine Creek.
Right.
And to rush for 1,600 yards, he had 18 touchdowns, to run for 200 yards in the state championship game. I mean, it's simply phenomenal. How can David Moore eclipse his freshman season?
I don't think there's really, you know, any way to do
he goes
that.
For 2,000 here or what?
Yeah, I think that's possible. If they pound away and go with the run game and he goes, you know, phenomenal numbers like over $2,000, then, you know, that would be a way to go ahead and, you know, move past and extend beyond what we saw in that championship game. What a great moment for a young guy.
Yeah, again, Pine Creek, boy, they have been the gold standard in 4A when it comes to football programs, but they're not the far and away favorite, at least not in my mind, Marty. I mean, certainly they're going to be there, there's no question, but there's other teams that are going to be right there as well, including Chatfield. That's a Chatfield team that opened up last season getting a win at Pine Creek and then would lose to Pine Creek in the state semifinals later in the year. But Chatfield, Brett McGatlin, they bring back big boys up front on both offense and defense.
At the high school level, that's immediately where I always stick, is who's got the big guys, because there's not that many that are big and athletic to play football the way you want them to. And Chatfield's got all those guys back, you know, and then some great skills performers. Up front, Justin Barley, Griffith Moss around, you know, the line of scrimmage. In summertime, they went and muscled everybody in the Broncos Lineman Challenge and won it, so that's a little hint for you. And then you got some skills players like Keelan Rumsey, one of my favorite players to watch. He's going to be out there for the Chargers this year, too.
Yep, Chatfield's going to be right there. Brett McGatlin, listen, their enrollment has gone down over the years. They went down to 4A for the first time in school history last season, made a run to the semis. Look for them to make another run. Broomfield, a team that made a run to the championship game, lost to Pine Creek at Mile High Stadium. What a hire Blair Hubbard was last season. Blair Hubbard takes over for longtime coach Gary Davies. We know about the Broomfield program. It's been a stalwart year after year. Hubbard won 3 state championships at Faith Christian up there in the Broomfield area. Comes over to Broomfield, leads them to a state championship game, and Broomfield's going to be there again this year.
And it seems like, as I watch them in the summertime and cross paths with them as a team, that taste of the title game, it felt good to them. They had a little bit of a swagger going. And for the staff, it seems like, okay, we've got things locked the way we intended to. The system is in place. You've got the leader in the quarterback, Stephen Kroll, returning, got some linemen back. We'll have to look for Broomfield as we progress towards November.
Yep, Kroll's going to be very good at quarterback, the lefty. But we were doing a game on CET last year, and I think it was Wheat Ridge, and Kroll comes in, was the backup due to injury, and never relinquished the starting job. Windsor is back. Head coach Chris Jones is back. Led him to a state championship in 2015. How big of an impact will the head coach have?
Oh, I think it's going to be a surge of impact with having a guy who's a character and a great football coach. So much football pedigree within him and his family. To have the whistle back in Chris Jones, and he's got a couple of all-staters to lead, and then that way of going about doing their business offensively and defensively. They get resources up there. They're physical. You got to respect the Wizards.
Yeah, the consistency that Windsor has shown over the last 5 years, they have always been in the thick of things. And again, remember, they won the 2015 state championship. Ponderosa is another one of those teams that's climbing back into superiority in Class 4A, and Jaron Cohen's doing a great job with that Parker program down there. They had a run to the state quarterfinals last year in Class 4A. They returned 14 starters, including the Ostall twins.
Absolutely, and they've got that toughness, too. In that quadrant down there in the southeast, they're the old school, the tough guys, is kind of what my perception is. That they've got the parts to play, including the skills players, 4 returning all-staters. They've got their quarterback who had monster numbers, and you've got big guys up front, including Maxwell Bruner, who's going to push people around at the 4A level.
Couple of teams that we don't cover a ton here on CET. One of them not very much. They're outside of our viewing zone, but They're going to be a player again this year in Class 4A. Talking about Fruita Monument, Todd K-Spear comes over from Montrose a couple years ago. All of a sudden, hey, those Wildcats are right there.
Yeah, with all that we saw K-Spear do at Montrose, you know, he took over a 5A program out there, locked into the Grand Valley. Okay, what are you going to do? Not going to give it to you until you earn it. Well, he did. 2 years, and all of a sudden he's a playoff team. He returns a 1,600-yard rusher. He's got his experienced quarterback returning. We believe in K-Spear. You got to trust them.
Absolutely. So, again, those are some of the top teams. There are more out there, and we'll unveil our 4A top 10 later on in the program. At Pueblo South, at Rampart, Wheat Ridge, Vista Ridge, Pueblo West, a lot of other teams that we didn't have time to get to here. Let's go to 5A now. And just as we started 4A with the defending champs, we'll start with 5A. And the defending champs, Valor Christian, the Eagles, they're back. Should they be considered the favorite again?
Absolutely. 7 of the 8 years they've won a championship title. You qualify it, they're only 1 point away from taking it 8 in a row.
Right.
I mean, with that loss to Cherry Creek a couple of years ago. The questions are, is they've lost, you know, they lost a lot of guys in terms of graduation, especially on defense. We'll have to see what happens on the D. People are going to focus on what Blake Stenstrom's going to do at the quarterback position. You know about Luke McCaffrey. I immediately go to the fact that Valor is returning 4 of the 5 starting offensive linemen from last year's championship game. Yeah, they've got big guys and depth beyond that on the offensive line. So they're poised to push people around in front of all those skills players.
Yeah, and Valor Christian's been known to send Division I offensive linemen off into their future. The team they've beaten the last 2 years in the state championship game, Pomona. Boy, it's amazing what Jay Madden does there in Arvada, isn't it? I mean, the enrollment there, it's under the 5A cutoff, yet they still play 5A football.
With what they have to work with up there in Arvada, Westminster, up there on 80th Avenue. I mean, they are locked in there, and then they have to go and build their program. And they have that, you know, just that way of doing their business, right? That Pomona swagger. It's big black.
Big black.
Yeah, they believe in it, and they act like it, and they play like it, and that's why they've had the success. Max Borghi, of course, one of the top talents in the state. We can say fairly he will return in the first quarter of the season, right? And you look at the schedule and you kind of figure out where they might want to put him. You know, key is Ryan Marcus. He's returning as a quarterback, very talented. What he did with that team last year to even get to the title game, amazing. He's going to play both ways too. He's a great defensive back. And then Coach Madden says he's got line play. He's got 3 returning starting offensive linemen, and then a young guy who's coming up who may be the next Moretti.
Well, certainly high praise. Jake Moretti now at the University of Colorado. A team that I love, Eagle Crest, Marty, and what Mike Schmidt's done with that program is phenomenal. That's a team that went undefeated in the regular season last year.
Yeah, you like what happened as you watched what Eagle Crest did last year. Had the phenomenal, you know, unprecedented regular season, right? Only advanced to the quarterfinals, but you kind of see what Mike Schmidt was building. It's a great program to watch. And then, you know, they've got a returning quarterback, 3-year starter in Jalen Mergerser. They've got big boys up front, and anytime you have Victor Garnes on your football field wearing your uniform, you have my attention and respect.
Yeah, and Garnes is going to be everywhere. He's going to play, he's going to run the football some, he's going to catch the football out of the backfield, he's going to be one of the top return men in the state of Colorado. And he's, you make the argument, the best defensive player playing safety. A kid that's a ball hawk on the back end of that defense. There's a lot of usual suspects. You're starting to realize that here in Class 5A teams. We seem to talk about each and every year, and Cherry Creek is always in that mix. Dave Logan now has his stamp on that program. They have one of the top wide receivers in the state, if not the best, and Dimitri Stanley, he's going to see you.
Yeah, and remember last year, Dave Logan was working with a very young football team at one point when we covered him. 1 freshman, 5 sophomores starting on his offense. That's just uncanny to even hear of in experience. Well, Padilla's back. He's got just a maturity about him as what is now a junior quarterback. Stanley's, he's just amazing and he'll always make you look. You know, some good line play there. We'll have to see what happens with the defense. Last year they graduated a lot of seniors from 2016. You know they've got depth, so we'll see how they put that all together.
Yeah, Cherry Creek's going to open up the season against Regis, one of the great rivalries out there between 2 schools that really have never, I shouldn't say never, back in the day they played in the Centennial League. We're talking the 1980s, but a rivalry between 2 schools that kind of are close in proximity, but have always been close in pedigree. They'll get Regis. Week 1, we'll have our cameras out there, but that's a Regis team that's going to be right back there. Danny Filament continues to do a marvelous job.
What I like, what Filament has done the last couple of years, I mean, they have elevated their physical presence on the football field. I know everybody's going to, be paying attention to DJ Jackson, Justin Lamb, the quarterback. I mean, those are 2 good offensive guys. I lock in on Heimlicher, the defensive end. I mean, he just likes the taste of knocking down quarterbacks. And then, of course, you got Patrick Rowe, who's a ball-hawking free safety. For a defense, part of the story last year is they take your football away. They're fun to watch as a physical, tough, and then watch the defense.
All right, 2 more Blue Bloods I do want to get to.
Yeah.
All right, you had a nice conversation a week ago with Tom Thinnell, head coach at Mullen. The Mustangs are going to be there. Mustangs are back, and then Grandview, they're right there as well. What do you like about those 2 teams?
Well, I like Tom Thinnell when you talk to him. He seems to be very comfortable. Remember that team or that core unit that helped him start his program at Mullen? They're all gone now. But he likes the squad he has. He says they're kind of like the Bear Creek days. So he's very comfortable with that. He's got a couple of D1 guys in Ajon Vivens, Adrian Jackson. He's got a quarterback who now has some experience. I think you got to watch out for Mullen. And then if you're talking Grandview, Gunnar Gentry is an outstanding D1 level wide receiver, and then so many defenders returning for a tough Grandview program under John Schultz.
Yep. Again, that's going to be a Grandview team that returns a ton of the defensive side of the ball, and they're always fast.
Yeah.
Man, it's a Grandview team that flies around. Week number 3, Grandview and Eagle Crest meeting up. We're going to have that game live on CET Sports on September the 15th. All right, quick snapshot there of 4A and 5A football. Certainly a lot of teams we didn't get to, but certainly if you saw any of the program earlier tonight, you did see highlights of them. Marty, as always, we appreciate you'll be covering our games of the week again this year. Looking forward to it. Good time of year, isn't it?
Absolutely. Glad to be back. I'm ready to go.
All right, that's Marty Cesario. We'll take a timeout. Wrap it up. Top 10's coming up right after this. Stay with us on our annual high school football preview show on XSR.